Welcome to the Land, your bet sports betting show. Nate and Josh coming to you with week 8 in the NFL, some early looks at the lines, sides, totals, and we've got some player props as well for you guys to keep in mind as those lines start to trickle out this week. So without further ado, Nate, let's get right into the first game we're talking about here. We got the Bills, we got the Panthers, and we've got the Panthers at home. 46.5 is the total here. And the Bills, I would imagine that they want to take advantage of somebody and put a bunch of points up. But what's the look here for the total angle?
Yeah, I think over here because the Bills are really good off a bye week. They're coming off double losses here, and nobody's stopping Josh Allen. I think this Panthers defense certainly going to find that to be difficult. And then you get Andy Dalton coming in as an upgrade for the Panthers offense, which was already rolling pretty well, especially on the ground, right? And now they get the league's worst rush defense by EPA per play. Bills have had no success stopping the run. We get Rico Dowdle softening them up, and then maybe Chuba Hubbard mixing in as well. So, I mean, the Panthers have been so good at home that I expect them to be competitive in this game. And therefore, if we're competitive, I think both teams will be in the 20s. And I'm going to trust Josh Allen to bring us home with an over after he's had an extra week to stew about his mistakes going into the bye.
Yeah, that would be the biggest sort of look for me. I do think that Atlanta's defense is legit. I think he has run into some difficult ones after a really nice soft stretch there, and now I think we're going to see Andy Dalton. And so everybody who dropped Xavier Legette or whomever to McMillan, like there's going to be some value to the air game here for this Panthers squad. And if you look at Chuba Hubbard in this one, I do think the receiving is the play for him. And right, this is what we've been talking about since Rico Dowdle came onto the scene with like back-to-back million-yard performances because Chuba was hurt. And it was like, okay, Chuba's going to come back, and then is he going to lose snaps to Rico Dowdle? Maybe some snaps, but not the pass game. Like Rico Dowdle is downhill, put your head down and goal, and that's going to be what how he's continued to use Chuba. While he's no stranger to picking up short yardage or anything like that, this is not necessarily how you're going to be able to see him get stuff through the air, because running backs through the air versus the Bills since last season continues to be a wagon, right? And that's going to be the outlet valve for Andy here is going to be Chuba Hubbard, not Rico Dowdle in those situations. And I do think we expect, like you said, the Bills to run it up and for this thing to go into the air very quickly for the Panthers, as they will have to abandon the Rico Dowdle short yardage runs.
Yeah, this was already on my mind last week when I'm thinking like, how's this going to shake out? With Rico and Chuba. It just wasn't the matchup to do it against the Jets, because it's like, why would anybody need to throw to their running backs against the Jets? Like, they are just an absolute doormat. And now you get a team that I think the Bills they're aware how bad they've been against the run. I think they're going to have to sell out a little bit, and that therefore opens things up for quick passes. And Dalton, yeah, as you see there, threw to Chuba 19 times in 4 starts last year when he got in there. And that was with Chuba handling a ton of rushing as well. I mean, he also rushed for 101 in those games. Now you kind of split those duties up, and Dow will be the one rushing, and then Chuba can just receive. And on the other side, I really like Khalil Shakir, who's projected for about 44.5 on the receiving yards line. It's just a great matchup for interior wide receivers. We saw George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs all clear 100 yards against this Panthers defense, mostly operating on the interior. Like Pickens just taking slants to the house, right? That's where Shakir excels. He's the 11th most slot snaps among receivers. He's up to 90% route rate the last 2, in part because the Bills lost Josh Palmer now for the season, and Dalton Kincaid missed a game, and he's still going to be banged up if he's back in there after the break. Shakir, good buy low, because he just had a dud against Atlanta, which is an elite secondary with the lowest middle open rate, meaning how they play coverage. They do not allow anything on the interior. And Carolina has one of the highest middle open rates, which is why they're so vulnerable against the tight end and the slot, and why I like Shakir, who's just flat out just underrated as just like a really good, overall receiver who just doesn't get that much credit. For the Bills, because the target share has been so flat in recent years, but now it's him and Keon Coleman, and I think Allen's going to start peppering him with targets.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's finally getting limited options for a team whose motto on offense is everybody eats. There's just fewer mouths to feed now with those guys potentially either not playing or playing super hobbled, as we know. So I'm with the Khalil Shakir one. I don't know the difference between he and Coleman. Obviously, in terms of the style, Coleman's going to be on the outside way more, playing on that outside, coming into the middle way fewer times than Khalil Shakir. So if that's the look, then I can definitely get next to it. But,
yeah, I mean, Coleman's also just like, if you're asking, Coleman's also like a baby in terms of his understanding of the NFL game, and he's learning the last 4 weeks. Like, they're just like, okay, you're the most physically talented boundary guy. We're going to stick our shutdown corner on you. Do you have counters? Do you have answers? And he's just like, no, I don't understand yet. And Shakir is just very savvy on the interior.
That's fair. Also feels like another big James Cook day, but I think points are going to come in this one. So that's why I do like the look for the total there. As we come here to the battered Baltimore Ravens, coming off of a bye, alliteration is nice, against the Bears. And in this one, in Baltimore, I think we're getting a situation where we can finally start to buy back into the Ravens. I know they're getting way healthier, Nate. So is this just a matter of them having their guys, including Lamar Jackson, on the field for this game?
Yeah, I mean, it starts there, but we're also looking to welcome back Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey at full health, Kyle Hamilton at full health, maybe Ronnie Stanley, and Pat Ricard, who's actually really huge for their team as just a fullback and probably going to play into the prop we're looking at. And it's about selling.
They really filled a Pro Bowl roster with an injury report.
Absolutely, right? I mean, it was like they were down to like third stringers at the cornerback position, no one to stop the run, and now, it's just a spot in terms of like they need to take out their anger on this overrated Bears team on a 4-game win streak that's pretty fraudulent, considering their quarterback's been among the worst in the NFL the last 3. He's been 20th in QBR and EPA on the season. He basically narrowly missed a couple pick sixes and fumbles against the Saints defense. So, I mean, I don't know where the Ravens stand on that scale, but their defense should be better than what we saw with those injuries going into the bye. And then if Lamar's even like 75% of himself, like he should resume what he does, just burning the NFC. He lost 2 of his last 3 against the NFC. I mean, those were against Detroit and Philly. He won the previous 13, 9 of them by 7+ points. He goes up against a high man coverage defense that's going to, allow him to do his thing scrambling, even if he's not 100% there. And I mean, this Bears defense is still like, they just faced the Saints team that like had 2 injured running backs that has Spencer Rattler. They beat up on Washington, which also looked bad against the Dallas defense. So are we just overrating the Bears defense a little bit here, now going into a much tougher spot?
Yes. Simply put, yes. I would think so. Anyway, I've been super unimpressed for a team that's supposed to be better on, against the pass, still opening up holes for deep plays for wide receivers. Yeah, I think Lamar playing from the pocket a bit more. We'll see if they're this would be in the next couple of weeks would be when they would start to sort of temper things with him anyway. Right around week 10, week 11, you watch his rushes start to dwindle as they really want to hit healthy for the playoffs. Don't know if that matters anymore this year, but we'll see. I think this is obviously a nice spot to keep the Ravens under a touchdown if you can get them there. And then the resurgence of the man who is heavily reliant on a really good rushing quarterback, at least at this point in his career. Like there was a time where Derrick Henry didn't matter if, anybody who my aunt or uncle was playing quarterback for the Titans, like you could still pencil him in for 100 on like 18 carries. I think he's still close to that guy, but we've seen what happens when he's not there with Lamar, and that's going to be a huge part of this. Then you've got the positive game script that also keeps him in the game. That's really what this look is you get him like 85 plus. That's going to be where his lines were before the huge drop, right? They got up to the mid to high 80s for his rushing prop lines. And now we're going to see him get back to that, or at least hopefully get back to that production. And you should still get some value on the rush yards there with him against, again, a Bears run defense that actually not as bad as I thought it might be, but it's still nowhere near something that you think can stop this running game with Lamar in there.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically the Ravens' season, right? I mean, they have to start right now with a win. They got to feed the big dog. So I mean, I'd probably be parlaying his success with them to win. I think he gets in the end zone. I mean, you look at his numbers against the NFC correlating with Lamar having success: 110 rushing yards per game, 6 touchdowns in 7 games, 5.8 yards per carry. If he did, you said it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. Yeah, with Cooper Rush playing quarterback against the 7th best rush defense from the Rams, he went for 122 just before this. So yeah, he's not washed. The Ravens offensive line is not washed, and this Bears run defense again. Yeah, let's look at the last 2 weeks and see who they really faced to seemingly get right.
Yep, absolutely. Moving on to the next game here, we've got Falcons, we've got Dolphins, and we're talking about another total here. It went down a point to 44.5. And are you kind of with that movement, or where are you at with these two teams matching up here?
Yeah, I think the only way I'm gonna play it is the Atlanta team total because I mean at where we stand right now, we don't know about Jalen Waddle or Darren Waller.
Nope.
We don't know about the Dolphins' state of mind in general. I would
I can
bank
guess.
on yeah a little bit of a bounce back from Tua indoors after of course in 50-degree like driving winds he's gonna be awful. But I mean Atlanta should just score at will here, right? I mean Bijan. The number one rush play rate team against the worst rush D by yards per game allowed. A coach that does nothing in terms of adjustments. I don't even know who their DC is, but clearly he's helpless. They've allowed scores on over 60% of their possessions, including 10 straight to open the season. So, yeah, I mean, Atlanta to score 27.5, you're already at plus money there. It might be a little ladder to get them to score 30. You're talking like plus 180. I would start hitting that early in the week while this number is low overall. And because I think it's going to start to go up once people think about this angle as like, well, we know the Falcons are going to score. I don't know if Miami's coming along at all.
No, not at all. I mean, they're definitely bad, and I think if you can still get any value on any kind of way to bet the Falcons to win this one, like kind of seems like they got the just gross loss out of the way with the Panthers, and the Panthers have hung around in a few other games, beat the Jets for whatever that's worth. So I don't know what you think, but I do think the Falcons they're going to get a little bit of value from that loss here and there and some of the numbers that come out for them. But let's talk about a guy not named Bijan, but we do get Tyler Algier. And if you do believe that the Dolphins are going to get it handed to them, then this would probably be where you can finally give Bijan a bit more of a break in the run game, especially when he's so good in the pass game. And really, we saw from week one, like with Algier, like he did get some carries there in week one, and Bijan actually led the game in receiving there in week one with 94 yards. So that helped not need him to do as much on the ground. And I think we'll see something along the lines of that again. Although that week one game wasn't a blowout. I know that against Tampa Bay. This one, I do think we can add that to the Algier sort of feather in his cap for this game is let's see if he can get there. And if you want to look at a tutty for him, 3 straight games when he plays indoors that he's gotten a touchdown. And we know that they would be nice for them to use him. He and Bijan have always had a good relationship, right? And the torch has just further been passed to Bijan this year entirely. But now we've got a situation to like give the vet some love here and give him a few snaps when you're up big against this Dolphins squad.
Yeah, I mean, they share the field for plenty. I mean, those indoor games you're talking about, he's at 32% snap rate. He has 11 red zone carries in those games, and those have mostly been close. And those also have all been wins, right? So that's the usage correlation. He has 4 double-digit carries this year. Those have been 3 wins, and then the close loss to Baker. And he has 5 total carries in their 2 losses. So Atlanta, very simple splits there in terms of like, okay, let's get back to pounding the rock. Like, yeah, I was going to say, like, how do the Falcons lose this game? Michael Penix probably throwing some picks. I assume the Falcons are just going to be like, look, if we just hand the ball to these 2 guys like 30 times, we're going to win this game. After the Carolina disaster, they gave it to Tyler 16 times for 51 yards and a touchdown against Washington, right? So, I mean, I think it's totally a bounce back spot for their offense. And therefore, you got to parlay that with Algier finding the end zone.
Yep. No, I can see that. I think that all comes together nicely there. Looking at this game between the Broncos and the boys. Very nice win for the boys last week, getting some guys back on offense and looking good on offense. And now we've got Jaden Daniels down for the Commanders, so we'll see what that does for them. And then you've got this Broncos squad that squeaked one out against my boys as the Giants had that thing in hand, I thought, at one point. But that's just how they've lost 2 games now. Broncos now coming in with a total up at 50.5 despite that defense in Denver because of Alice and there being no D. How high do you go with this thing, Nate? Or at some point, are you looking to zag on the total?
Yeah, I'd be taking the under. I'd be thinking about it now. We got 3 points of movement. Maybe you get an opportunity to get it at 51 or 52 because of how Dallas has been playing. Like you said, their run defense did look a lot better though last week at home. Denver's been ineffective running the ball. Bo Nix has been schizophrenic. So I mean, maybe they don't give up a ton of points here. I mean, in terms of Denver being such a low scoring team, and I do think the Denver defense can cool Dak off a little bit. That's definitely a potential. I mean, they're not going to get these shot plays against Pat Surtain and company, right? They're going to have to move it down there methodically. Maybe we'll be looking at Jake Ferguson for that reason, but I'm still going to like wait and see where some of these numbers are for player props and see where the total lands before I make a move here.
That's fair. That's fair. I do talk about Nix and that passing, but like, look, it seems like this should be another opportunity for him. There's really nothing about Dallas's defense in the matchup. There's really nothing about what Bo Nix has done this season that should still make you feel that bad about playing against Dallas. The biggest difference to me from Bo Nix last year in the early and Bo Nix early this season, it's not just me, it's the amount that he's throwing downfield. It's just stats. It's just that he's not throwing the deep ball nearly as often this season as he was last season. They trust the defense. They've got a bit more gimmicks to their offense. And look, you get another year on a kid and you're going to have some more film to actually look at him in the NFL. All makes sense. But like Sean Payton versus Matt Eberflus, who you got, right? Matt Eberflus is going to take a while for him to get that stink off of him, and he's not helping himself by running one of the worst units in the league this season. I'm talking about the stink of being in Chicago, obviously. But yeah, I think now it makes perfect sense. Take the training wheels off. Don't worry about deep shots. We watched Russell Wilson, who might not ever play quarterback again in the NFL as a true starter, probably not, throw for 400 million yards on them, right? So like, let's just take what the week and the slate is giving us and get ahead of some Bo Nix nice upswings here.
Yeah, I mean, don't give up on the deep shots is the idea, right? If you take the training wheels off, don't get discouraged because he's just barely missed a lot of these deep shots. That's the regression the positive regression we're expecting from Bo Nix, and maybe there's some carryover, like you're saying. I mean, teams with like low pass rate over expectation recently against Dallas, Caleb goes for 300. Justin Fields nearly for 300. Talk about maybe not starting again. Bryce Young gets to 200. And Denver is actually a pretty high pass rate team, right? I mean, he's fourth in attempts per game is Bo Nix. So I think, the opportunity will definitely be there for him to put up some numbers.
Yeah, I'm with it. I do also want to at least briefly mention that I think Courtland Sutton will be on the receiving end of those. And I think I might be off Evan Ingram as far as this game goes because there'll be a bit more deep shots. I'm not saying it's a bad play, but you're not going to need to go short consistently to pick up first downs against Dallas. You can air that thing out. So let me get into this Steelers and Packers game with you. Two historic franchise bumbling down the field. It's just always whenever these two teams play, I just think of like the 1960s. And we're going to have the Steelers at home now. Do we come back after a loss with Mike Tomlin? They are +3 at home against the Packers. I gotta believe you're on the side of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers in this one.
It's a classic rah-rah Tomlin spot, right? I mean, just look at some of these numbers. 5-0 after a bye since 21, 71% as home dog. And
I just want to interrupt you to say this was not staged. I truly did not look at Nate's notes about what he liked in this one. I just know my boy here, so...
Yes, it's a spot to back the Steelers. I mean, you mentioned there's also the Aaron Rodgers narrative here, right? I mean, of course, going up against the Packers. The Steelers are 5-0 ATS with a rest advantage as well since the start of last season. Dealing with a mini bye here after a surprising loss to Joe Flacco that really was just kind of humiliating for their defense, right? I mean, they're going to have something. Yeah, they don't have to deal with Jamar Chase now. Jordan Love. I don't know what to say about him. He has all the arm talent in the world, and he just doesn't scare me if I'm betting against him. Because the Packers, they have not covered in 4 straight. They're -24 against the spread. They just don't have they don't have their full slate of weapons. Josh Jacobs has been banged up. I think the Steelers at home, this is a Sunday night game too, so you get a little bit of an extra bump here. Right. Nobody packs the old Heinz Field with opposing fans. Even the Packers fans are not going to be in there. Yeah. And so I just trust this game to be close. So I'll take the 3. This will be a prime teaser leg for me. Get the Steelers up to 9 with whatever else I can find on the slate.
Yeah, it's a really good point about the Packers. I love to make that sort of find those moments where you're like, there's like 2 arenas, man, where y'all aren't really going to have the green and yellow out there. I think the Steelers, I don't know, the only field might be Lambeau that I think I even see Steelers fans right in Jerry's world. But this is one where, you can bank on home field advantage in Heinz Field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you can, then let's go back to some Jaylen Warren receiving. Now, I got to say, like, it was tough to like watch Kenneth Gainwell out target him for a couple games in a row. And last week, I feel like was a pretty strong statement, right? Because we've been eyeing Jaylen Warren weekly. We've loved his receiving because it's been at 17, 18 and a half. And we both view him as like a 22 and a half to 25 yard receiving guy, getting 3 to 4 targets per game and a pretty nice ADOT and average yards per attempt for a running back, especially. Now you're talking about him coming in a situation where you could see that Packers defense get the pressure that it was getting a couple weeks in a row where it's been wanting with Micah Parsons and the blitz specifically for them. But we still know that they're going to be a top 5 to 10 pressure unit on the season. A-Rod knows he's got to get it out quick. So when he's in those situations like last week where Jaylen Warren was an absolute monster, this was a good look. I'm not totally terrified of the rushing because I think the market is giving some of this the rushing share to Kenneth Gainwell incorrectly. Like, I think people like us, like we both thought last week, were like, if Kenneth Gainwell is going to hurt Jaylen Warren, then it's going to be through the air. Jaylen Warren's going to keep the rushing. We were totally right about that last week, that the rushing was going to be all Jaylen Warren against the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was a low number at like 50 yards, but the receiving was also really low. My point is, I think you could take both. If you get a number around 50 yards rushing for him, I still think that's beatable, even against a good defense like the Packers. And the receiving, I like, regardless, as long as you don't get a number like 24 and a half, I still think you can go over that pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it took him only one game to take this backfield back, right? I mean, to be like more like a 65-35 split. Rodgers loves him despite yelling at him constantly when he messed up one big play call against the Bengals. Yeah, so I mean, and he loves checking down to the running back so that he doesn't get hit. It's a smart play. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm watching football on Sundays and like see a quarterback pass up the wide open back and be like, I can get something better, and then they like come back to it and it's like too late. It's like, what's wrong with the 7-yard gain? Like, just get it to him. And Warren has been effective. He leads all backs in yards per route run, and now he's got that full slate.
Yep. And I mean, guys like Kurt Warner aired it out. He wasn't too good to throw at Marshall Faulk for 6 to 7 yards every time. It makes no sense to me. I'm totally with you on that. And I just love the story, the career arc for Aaron Rodgers at this point being that like angry old get off my lawn guy to even his own teammates, going from like the hippie at Berkeley with now he's just yelling at all of his teammates for some reason. And that is all the time we have for you guys in the early looks for the week. Definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. Nate closes things out and finishes that loop with some closing lines looks as well. That usually comes out on Saturdays. I've also got my looks coming in for Thursday night. We're going to get Nate on there to talk about that and the props. Plus, by the way, don't know if you know, the NBA started. Got plenty of content coming on there as well. So hope to see you guys in there. Until we see you next, happy betting.